When much of New York City was left without power after Hurricane Sandy, a major effort began here to strengthen the electrical power grid, make it more storm resistant. And as we've been watching the slow storm recovery in Puerto Rico, it is clear that the power infrastructure there is still totally inadequate, and also that little was done to fix it after the big hurricane 5 years ago. It was fall of 2017 when the island was hit with Hurricane Maria. That came just a few months after the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority had filed for bankruptcy, and it was in the aftermath of Maria that Puerto Rico's then governor, Ricardo Rossello, moved to privatize the electricity services. So the Luma Energy Company signed a 15-year contract. It would operate Puerto Rico's grid. The outages have continued. When Hurricane Fiona struck last week, Puerto Rico was again plunged into darkness. In San Juan this past weekend, a protest condemning Luma and asking why billions of dollars in federal grant money has not been spent yet on improvements.
We really need people to know that the energy company here in Puerto Rico sucks big time. They have hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what it is to have your refrigerator down for a week, not have enough diesel to run your generators, and throw away food that has rotted, or open food that you thought was on ice and is rotted anyway. It's just wrong.
And you see the level of emotion there. Julio Cesar Garcia spent the past week reporting for New York One from Puerto Rico. Back with us in studio this morning. Good to have you back.
Good to be here.
If people have complaints all the time about Con Ed, that they couldn't get through to customer service, or that they were slow to make a repair after a blackout. Let's just say that on their worst day, they're having a better day than what people have experienced in Puerto Rico.
Certainly. It's not just waiting on the line for an hour. It's waiting on the line for days and then having to call back again, and then waiting weeks in some cases for the electricity to come back.
And it's, you know, it's been well documented. It's frustrating for people. People here are trying to send their support and just say, you know, this isn't acceptable. This is part of America.
Certainly. You know, everyone from normal citizens, people who have relatives in the New York area, and down to superstars. Big Bunny wrote a song about El Apagón, which is the blackout. A common, you know, thing that happens for them, and he's also had to bring generators for his concerts.
So you know, you're back here now. You've got a tie on after walking around in your boots and t-shirt for a few days, really getting to know what the struggle in Puerto Rico is. Tell me what the power problem means to people. Are they buying generators? Do they have generators? Are they able to fuel those generators?
The lucky few that have large enough generators to power small appliances such as a mini fridge or even a fan for the very hot days and nights, those are just a few. And then there are people like a farmer that we visited who powered a large generator to help himself and neighbors, but then he had to drive around for hours to find diesel. Small generators are available at supermarkets, but that's just to plug in your phone. But then again, if there's no tower service, then you can't even use it.
I want to bring back an interview that Julio did with the resident commissioner of Puerto Rico, elected, serving in Congress, not having a full vote in Congress. But here's how that conversation went. Here's what she said when she was asked if it is time for Puerto Rico to take some drastic action here and terminate that contract with Luma.
I think we should focus at this time of actually restoring the power of the people and for the rest of the island, and of course maintaining the oversight on their operations. That doesn't mean that Congress are not going to be doing the oversight in hearings like we did last week, and we're going to continue to do so. But in this time, I think the most important thing is that the people of Puerto Rico may have power, and that this company focus solely on that.
And you know, Pat, over a week later, as of this morning at 6 a.m., 67% of all Puerto Ricans had their power restored, 124 out of the 150 hospitals.
So they're making some progress each day.
Little by little, but there's cities like Ponce, a large city in the southern portion of the island, where it's only 27% of homes.
The Senator Chuck Schumer yesterday was raising the idea of the $12 billion in funding that was supposed to help fix some of these problems. that's still sitting on a shelf somewhere. Most of that funding hasn't been spent, and that's the source of some of this frustration in Puerto Rico.
Certainly, because while that money has been set aside, it has not been disbursed. And then you heard Emily know earlier, Gillibrand and Nydia Velázquez won more federal money to go in.
Yeah. Julio, thanks again for your reporting.
Of course.
It is 7:37 to Shannon.
Yeah, and good morning to you guys. We have some other issues to talk about on those subways right now. Queens-bound delays on A trains, and this is due to a car in need of cleaning, so that's slowing things.
Mayor Adams is in the Dominican Republic today surveying the damage left behind by Hurricane Fiona. The mayor spent part of the weekend checking out the recovery efforts in Puerto Rico, which was also very hard hit by the storm. New York 1's Julio Cesar Garcia was with the mayor yesterday as he met with local officials and residents and learned more about Puerto Rico's cleanup.
New York City is the San Juan of America.
Mayor Eric Adams spent 11 hours on the ground in Puerto Rico Sunday on a whirlwind visit in response to the destruction caused by Hurricane Fiona that wiped out power all over the island. He touched down in the 7 a.m. hour in San Juan and met with NYC emergency management staff assisting in the recovery, the mayor of San Juan, the island's Secretary of State, Puerto Rico's governor, and FEMA personnel before traveling to Cabo Rojo.
We are so proud to the mayor of New York to be here with us in Cabo Rojo.
Dozens of residents of the remote town 3 hours south of the capital rushed to this community center to greet Mayor Adams. A large number of them still don't have electricity or running water.
It sends the message that the people of Puerto Rico matter. We brought food, we brought water, but also we brought our hearts.
Some came for selfies or food, and many left with supplies and a warm meal.
Most people lose all in the house, flood with water, 4 feet, 5 feet. Other, the ceilings.
And Adams promised to do what he can to help speed up the federal government's response.
We have to get the generators here, the electricity back on, that's connected to the water. We can bring the food and water that we have, but we have to get it sustainable.
Then the convoy went deep into the hard-hit community, where he found New Yorkers happy to see their mayor.
The distance to be able to get a cup of water or even a cup of ice from here is very difficult. I'm so proud to be a New Yorker and to see them here, helping these people. It's just amazing.
That's Juan. His partner Marilyn's aunt received food donations straight from the hands of Mayor Adams. The photo up in the front yard of her house, not yet repaired after Maria hit 5 years ago. Now with a pile of debris as well, courtesy of Fiona. She received the federal money to rebuild, but her contractor hasn't completed the work.
She had a broken pipe and we happened to realize it. Fortunately, we was able to fix it and help her out. My father lost basically all that he had.
The mayor wrapped his visit before sundown to fly to the Dominican Republic, accompanied by Transportation Commissioner Idanis Rodriguez, NYC OEM Commissioner Zach Iscol, Representative Adriano Espaillat, Queensboro President Donovan Richards, and Council Member Rafael Salamanca, among other officials. In San Juan, Julio Cesar Garcia, New York 1.
And there's more finger pointing over Puerto Rico from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who says he knows who's to blame for the power outages that the Puerto Rican people have been dealing with as they recover from Hurricane Fiona and prior storms. After Hurricane Maria in 2017, $12 billion in federal funding was set aside to upgrade the electrical system to make it more resilient if there was another storm. Here we are. Another storm, and only 2% of that $12 billion has been sent so far because there's a dysfunctional relationship between the government-owned Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority and the privately owned Luma Energy Company.
They have not spent the dollars. So I have called on the Puerto Rican Oversight Board to go after PREPA, which is the company that runs the generators, and LIUMA, which runs the power lines, to start cooperating, get their act together, and make sure they start using the money we gave them to fix up the power generation system and the power delivery system.